An insult is never only an insult. It is a test, a small blade slipped in carefully to see if you react. Most men do. They respond on impulse like creatures defending territory. Voices rise. Explanations begin. They rush to prove they are not what was said. And in that instant, control shifts. Because the person who insults is not trying to be right. They are trying to take power. They are testing your frame, your emotional control, your need for validation. Understand this clearly. Disrespectful people do not throw words. They cast hooks. If you bite, they pull. If you strike back, they guide. If you defend yourself, they control you. Machiavelli would see it plainly. An opening hidden inside disrespect. The moment someone insults you, they reveal their intent. Dominance, tension, superiority, or amusement at your expense. Your task is not to win a verbal exchange. Your task is to keep your position untouched, steady, unaffected. Because a man who can be provoked can be directed. And a man who can be directed is already beaten, even if he appears to win the argument. From this point forward, you stop reacting like an injured ego and start responding like a planner. You do not rush to speak. You do not rush to justify yourself. You do not rush to punish. You watch. You assess. You choose. An insult is information. It tells you who they are, what they want, and how they operate. When you treat it as data instead of a personal attack, you become dangerous. Not loud. Dangerous. Calm. Untouchable. The psychology behind insults is simple. They are buying status. People are not rude for entertainment alone. They insult to gain something. Control, dominance, or relief from their own insecurity. When someone feels diminished, they attempt to reduce someone else. This is not theory. It is basic human behavior at its most predictable. An insult is a transaction. They spend words to purchase a reaction. If you give them anger, embarrassment, or defensive reasoning, you have paid the price for them. You have handed confidence to someone who did nothing to earn it. From a psychological standpoint, many insults are projection. People accuse others of what they fear within themselves. They call you incompetent because they feel inadequate. They call you weak because they fear exposure. They dismiss you because their identity depends on opposition. Sometimes it is not insecurity but performance. In groups, insults become spectacle. A jab is thrown to get approval, signal dominance, or climb socially, using your dignity as leverage. That is why insults often happen in front of others. They are not speaking to you. They are speaking through you. You are being used as a tool in a story where they appear superior. Then there are those who insult to test boundaries. They start small, then escalate. Each tolerated slight teaches them what is acceptable. They are mapping your limits, searching for the moment you abandon discipline and collapse into emotion. This is why insults should never be taken at face value. The words are noise. The motive is the signal. Ask yourself quietly, what are they trying to extract? Attention, fear, submission, disorder. Once you identify the motive, the insult loses its sting and becomes a script. And when you can read the script, you control the scene. The first rule is pause. Do not move first. When the insult lands, your body will want to respond. Tension rises. Heat spreads. Ego demands action. That is the trap. Your nervous system is being recruited to fight on their terms. So you do the opposite. You pause. Not awkwardly, but deliberately. One beat longer than expected. Long enough to drain their momentum. Long enough for their words to hang without reward. Keep your posture still. Shoulders loose. Jaw relaxed. Eyes steady. Do not rush to smile to soften it. Do not rush to aggression to assert yourself. Both signal that they reached you. Your expression should communicate one thing. I heard you, and nothing changed. Silence, when chosen, is not weakness. It is pressure. It forces them to sit with their behavior. Most rude people depend on feedback. They need your response. Deny it. Let the quiet stretch just enough for others to notice the imbalance. When you speak, speak slowly and quietly, not from hesitation, but from control. You do not match their intensity. You reduce it. Their heat looks childish next to your calm. Here is the key principle. Whoever controls the pace controls the power. Speed signals emotion. Slowness signals intention. Speed is defensive. Calm is dominant. In that pause, you separate your identity from the insult. You refuse to let someone else set your internal state. This is how you become untouchable. By refusing urgency. By refusing performance. You are not there to react. You are there to decide. And once they realize they cannot provoke you, their confidence collapses. Because the one thing an insulter cannot tolerate is someone who does not need reaction to feel strong. Now comes the mirror. Return clarity, not emotion. The purpose is not to throw the insult back, but to expose the behavior. You do not debate accuracy. You reveal intent. You do not say, "That's wrong." You say calmly, "Was that meant to be disrespectful?" Then you stop. Let them answer. If they joke, you do not join. If they dodge, you press once. So, yes or no? If they tell you to relax, you respond evenly, "I am relaxed. I asked a question." This denies them chaos and forces them into clarity, which they dislike. Another mirror is repetition. Tilt your head slightly and say that again, slowly, not angry, curious, controlled. Most people will not repeat it because insults lose strength when ownership is required twice. If they do repeat it, you label it. "All right, now I know how you speak." Then let it sit. Or ask them to explain. "What do you mean by that?" Disrespect collapses under explanation. Your voice stays low. Your words remain minimal. You are teaching a rule without pleading for it. Access to you requires respect. In Machiavelli's world, appearance matters. And your appearance is composure. When you stay composed, their attack becomes evidence of their character. They either correct themselves or expose themselves. Either outcome favors you. You never insult first because that lowers you to their level. Let them look uncontrolled. You remain clean. If consequences follow later, observers remember who had control and who sought attention. End it with precision, not force. One sentence, clean and final. The longer you speak, the more power leaks away. Boundaries are statements, not discussions. When the line is crossed, you name it. "Do not speak to me like that." Then stop. No lecture. No anger. If they test again, shorten it. Don't. If they push a third time, introduce consequence without emotion. If you continue, this conversation ends. And if they continue, you follow through immediately. You turn away. You remove attention. You leave. That follow-through is the weapon. Words mean little without action. Action signals status. The core principle is this: you must be willing to lose the interaction to win the position. Most men stay and trade insults because they fear appearing weak. But power does not need to perform. Power can walk away. You also do not explain your boundary. Explanation sounds like seeking approval. You do not need agreement. You need compliance. Keep it precise. One line to stop. One line to warn. One action to end. For sharper control, use a freezing question. Do you speak to everyone like that? Or only people you think you can control? Say it softly, like an observation. Then silence. You have rejected their frame and rewritten the power contract. In Machiavelli's view, mercy without strength invites abuse. Strength without noise earns respect. Let your calm be the threat. Let restraint be the warning. Let departure be the consequence. Finally, understand context. Public and private insults are different battles. Public disrespect is performance. They want attention, approval, allies. Private disrespect is about control. One-on-one power shifts. You do not respond the same way to both. In public, your goal is to protect status without creating spectacle. You do not overreact. You do not over-explain. You use few words and strong composure. A pause, a look, then a framing line. That's an odd thing to say out loud. Or that wasn't necessary. Short, clean. It signals to everyone watching that you are above the scene, and they are the one making it messy. If the situation allows, humor can be used like a precise tool. Not playful humor. Not self-defensive humor. dry humor that subtly reduces their position. A simple line such as, "You planned that one, didn't you?" And then you move forward. The key is momentum. Do not stand still waiting for the next strike. You redirect the discussion. You shift focus. You remove fuel. In private settings, boundaries become firmer because there is no audience to manage, only a relationship to define. You speak directly. Speak respectfully, or this ends. If they try to excuse it with, "I'm just being honest," you cut through the excuse. Honesty does not equal disrespect. You are setting the rule that determines access to you. In public, you protect your image. In private, you protect your territory. And in both cases, remember the Machiavellian advantage. The person who can leave without explanation holds leverage. When your attention is not freely available, people learn to handle you carefully or lose access altogether. This is reputation warfare. You do not win every conflict in the moment. You win it afterward, when emotions settle and clarity returns. Machiavelli understood this. The battlefield that matters most is memory, not noise. When someone insults you repeatedly, do not rely on a clever response and hope it stops. Start observing. Track patterns. Who was there? What was said? How often did it happen? Who reacted? Who stayed quiet? Disrespect thrives on confusion and speed. You defeat it with clarity and patience. Keep your behavior clean in the moment. Then step off the stage where surface conflict lives and move into spaces where influence exists. Calmly speak to the right people when emotions are low. Leaders, mutual contacts, decision-makers, anyone who controls roles, access, or opportunities. You do not approach as a victim. You present a pattern that harms the environment. This is occurring. These are the examples. I am not debating. I am setting a boundary. No exaggeration. No emotional appeal. No requests for sympathy. You present facts with restraint and choose timing with care. Consequences land harder when delivered calmly rather than in anger. Also understand this. You do not need universal approval. You need a reputation that is steady, controlled, and reliable. When you remain composed and they remain rude, others begin to separate you naturally. Their behavior becomes evidence. Yours becomes authority. That is the long strategy. You allow them to damage their credibility while you protect your own. When the time comes, you remove access. Favors stop. Conversations end. Doors close. Quietly. Without spectacle. That is Machiavellian power. The consequence is real, but the expression remains calm. Emotional immunity begins internally. Insults hurt not because words are sharp, but because they touch unresolved needs. A desire for validation. A fragile identity still seeking approval. That is why two people can hear the same insult and react differently. One erupts. The other remains unmoved. The insult itself is not the weapon. The trigger is. To become untouchable, you do not only learn responses. You remove triggers. You stop giving strangers authority over your self-worth. Many men live as if their reputation is fragile. Every rude comment feels like damage. A grounded man becomes solid, not because he feels nothing, but because he is anchored. He knows who he is and who has permission to speak into that identity. Here is the psychological reality. Insults are attempts to shape a narrative about you. Your ego reacts because it fears the story will spread. But narratives are controlled through behavior, not arguments. When you stay calm, you communicate silently that the insult has no power. When you react emotionally, you suggest it might. Train your nervous system deliberately. When heat rises, label it ego. When the urge to explain appears, label it need for approval. When you crave immediate retaliation, label it impulse. Then choose discipline. One breath, one pause, one measured sentence. That brief space between stimulus and response is where power forms. This is how control is built. When insults no longer dictate your emotions, others lose the ability to steer you. They may still speak. They may still provoke. But they cannot move you. A man who cannot be moved cannot be defeated. He becomes the calm center of the room. He sets the standard. He becomes untouchable not because no one tries, but because nothing sticks. This requires a code. Not motivation, not mood, a code. Disrespect does not arrive only on strong days. It comes when you are tired, stressed, distracted. Rules must operate when feelings are weak. Rule 1. Never explain yourself to disrespect. Explanation seeks approval. Rule 2. Never exchange insults. That lowers your position. Rule 3. Never react quickly. Speed signals emotion, and emotion creates leverage for others. Rule 4. Reward respect. If someone corrects themselves, accept it calmly. That teaches behavior. Rule 5. Punish disrespect with distance, not drama. Short replies. Reduced access. End the interaction. Leave. Rule 6. Speak fewer words than they do. Excessive speech sounds defensive. Precision sounds certain. Rule 7. Establish boundaries early. Small disrespect grows if ignored. Rule 8. Control your expression. Your face communicates everything. Do not advertise injury or anger. Show calm. Rule 9. Choose the right approach. Public situations require composure and framing. Private situations require clarity and consequence. Rule 10. Remember the Machiavellian truth. Power is not what you say. It is what follows. A boundary without consequence is performance. A boundary followed by action becomes law. This code makes you someone people handle carefully. Not because you are loud, but because you are consistent. Your attention has value. Your calm is not weakness. It is control. And control is exactly what disrespectful people attempt to take. They succeed only if you give it away. You keep it until it becomes who you are. This is the shift that begins now. You stop treating your dignity as something others can pick up or drop at will. You stop walking through life with invisible strings attached to every opinion. Many people call that respect, but it is actually vulnerability to manipulation. One rude comment, and emotion takes over. Voice changes. Logic disappears. You are pulled into a conflict you did not choose. From this point on, you choose something colder and more effective. You become the one who sets the temperature. You establish rules through behavior, not declarations. When insulted, you do not rush to prove strength. You demonstrate stability by refusing to be pulled. You pause. You observe. You let their words carry weight on their own. You mirror calmly to reveal intention. You state the boundary clearly. And if it is crossed again, you do not argue. You remove access. Attention is currency, and those who show disrespect do not deserve wealth. Understand the final lesson. The world does not respond to emotion. It responds to consequence. A person who demands respect while tolerating disrespect invites further testing. A person who is calm, consistent, and willing to walk away becomes valuable. Others sense it in the pause, the steady gaze, the absence of explanation, and the refusal to chase approval. You do not need applause. You need understanding. Your attention is not free. Your peace is not negotiable. Your presence is earned. When this becomes who you are, insults lose their effect. They become background noise, evidence of emotional instability or insecurity in others. You do not hate them. You do not fear them. You see them clearly. And when people are seen clearly, they lose the ability to surprise or control you. That is what being untouchable truly means. Awareness paired with discipline. So remember this. When someone tries to provoke you, do not ask, "How should I respond?" Ask, "What does my response teach them about me?" Every reaction is instruction. Teach calm. Teach boundaries. Teach that disrespect earns nothing. Teach that you can leave. Teach that your self-respect is not up for negotiation. And if you want to lock this identity in place, choose a phrase that defines it. One you will live by. Let it be this: my silence is control. Hold onto it when your ego wants to react. And if this message reached the part of you that is tired of being pulled into other people's games, then you already know the next step. Engage with the channel, stay connected, and prepare for the next lesson that sharpens control even further.